Hi, superstars. It is time for math, and we are on lesson 3-7. Look for a pattern. In this lesson, you're going to learn how to solve problems by looking at growing patterns and predicting what comes next. Look at this pattern here. What shapes repeat themselves? Can you see what this pattern is? Heart, star, star, heart, star, star, heart, star, star. So what are the repeating shapes? Heart, star, star, right? They keep repeating themselves. Heart, star, star, heart, star, star, heart, star, star. So what shape would come next? What one shape would come next if the pattern were to continue? What do you think would come next? Did you say heart? Because that is correct. The heart would come next. All right, good job. Now, a growing pattern is a pattern that changes from one part to the next, but it is predictable in an orderly way. So, if I were to draw one square here, and then two squares, and then three squares, this pattern is a growing pattern. Do you see how this pattern is growing? We go from one square, two squares, three squares. What do you think would be next in this growing pattern? We keep adding one more, and from here to here, we add one more. So what do you think would be next? 1, 2, 3. What would we add to get to here? One more. So there would be 4 squares. So do you see how we start here with 1? We add 1 to get to 2. We add 1 here to get 3. And then we add 1 more to get 4. So this is a growing pattern. Can you say growing pattern? Growing pattern. Now, let's see. We see groups of ants in the grass, and they're marching in a growing pattern. If the ants continue in their pattern, how can we tell what the next group of ants will be? All right, we're going to use cubes to show the growing pattern. So if I have one cube over here on the top, and then 2 cubes, to get from 1 to 2, how many cubes did I have to add? I added 1 more cube, right? Now let's look at the next 2 parts. If I go to this part right here, I have 3 cubes. So to get from this to this, how many cubes did I have to add? 1 more cube. All right, let's look at the next growing pattern. Now, How many more cubes did I have to add from this to get to this? From this to our next growing pattern, I had to add one more cube. So we're adding one more cube. So what do you think the number of cubes would be in this square? So if we started off with 1 and then 2, let's change the color so we don't get confused here. 1, we have 2 cubes, 3 cubes, 4 cubes. What do you think the next pattern would be? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it would be 5 in the next group. So we predicted, or we guessed that it would be 5. So let's look over here. Now, we have another group of ants, and they're marching in the grass right here. How many ants are there? Remember, each cube is showing us one ant. We have 4 ants marching here. So if we were going to predict the next group, what do you think that number of cubes would be? It's 4, and we're adding 1 cube each time. How many cubes would there be? 5, because we added how many more cubes? 1. All right, let's look down here. All right, we have 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, but not only 3, we need to notice the different colors. We have 1 blue, 1 yellow, 2 blue, 2 yellow, 3 blue. What do you think is going to go here? Now they give you choices right here. Which one do you think is going to be next? Did you say 3 yellow? That is correct. 3 yellow cubes. Let's see if I have yellow. 1, 2, 3. So we noticed a pattern. It was blue, yellow, and we also noticed the number of cubes in this pattern. 1 blue, 1 yellow, 2 blue, 2 yellow, 3 blue, and 3 yellow. All right, let's turn our page over. Okay, let's look at our first box here. All right, what does this picture show? We have 2 rows of ants. Here's our first row. Here's our second row. How many ants are in the first row? This is our first row. How many ants are there? 1 ant. That is correct. How many rows are in this second row? 2 ants. So to get from 1 ant to 2 ants, how many ants was added? 1, right? So we have 1 and 1. We added 1 more so that we could get 2 ants. Let's look at our next box. What does this picture show? It shows 3 rows of ants. Do you see a growing pattern Here's our first row, 1, second row, and our third row. Do you see a growing pattern? Yes. The first row has 1 ant. Then the second row has 2 ants. And the third row shows 3 ants. It looks like 1 ant is added to each new row. Let's look over here in our third box. How can we find out how many ants are in the fourth row? This is the first, second, third, fourth. How can we find out how many ants are in the fourth row? What do we need to do? Count them. So let's count them together. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the last number named, that tells us how many ants are in the row. So will the number of ants in the row change if we counted them in a different order? No, it doesn't matter where we start. We just count each ant one time. Let's look at our last box here. What comes next in this pattern? So we're over here. Look at this last row, and we're talking about a growing pattern. So what comes next in the pattern? 5 ants. How can we check the answer? We need to count to find out how many were in row 4 and add 1. So remember, we counted 4 ants here. We add 1 more, and how many do we get? We add 1 more. Let's count to make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there are 5. That is how we can check our answer. We know that we add 1 more to that pattern. All right, let's go down over here to number 1. So what you're going to do, you are going to circle the set of these 2 pictures that shows the pattern that comes next. So let's first look over here. We have a pattern. We have 1 butterfly, 2 butterflies, 3 butterflies, 4 butterflies. What comes next? So we're going to pick from these 2 pictures. Which one do you think comes next? If 4 is the last one, what number of butterflies should come next? We see a pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4. What's next? 5. And we can always count to check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're adding 1 butterfly each time. From here to here, we add 1. From here to here, we add 1. From here to here, we add 1. So we know that we need to add 1 more. This one is the same. It has 4. But over here, we added 1 more butterfly. Okay, let's look at number 2. We have 1. How many do we have next? 1, 2. How many are in the next row? 1, 2, 3, or in the next column. So what is going to come after this? What's going to come next in this growing pattern? Well, we can count this and check. 1, 2, 3. Would that be what's next? No, let's count the next row or column. I apologize. 1, 2, 3, 4. That means we added one more. We can predict that. This comes next. Okay, number 3. You're going to draw one more row of party hats to show what comes next in the pattern. So let's look at the first row. How many party hats? There's 1. Let's look at the next row. How many are there? 1, 2. Let's look at our next row. 1, 2, 3. Next row. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it looks like we keep adding one party hat. So what do you predict down here? How many party hats are going to be in this last row? Here's 1, 2, 3, 4. Are there 4? 5, because we're going to add one more. So 5 party hats are in the next row. All right, let's do the same over here. We're going to draw another row of oranges and show what comes next. So we're going to draw another row down here, but first we're going to look at the rows we have. The first row has how many oranges? 1. How about the second row? 1, 2. The third row has how many? 1, 2, 3. Do you see the pattern? We keep adding one more to each row. So if the last row we see has 3, what are we going to do next? 1, 2, 3, and what are we going to do? Add one more. So we have 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good job, superstars. You're doing a great job. Finish your worksheet, and until next time, have a wonderful day. Bye.